you have had an experience there quite recently, wasn't it? I mean, you were at a protest. Tell me a little bit about what happened there.
Yeah, on 18th of May, I went to cover two events that were happening in London. One was the South African elections, where South Africans who are living in UK, they were queuing up outside South Africa House in Charing Cross and to vote for the future of their country. So I went there first, and I did a couple of interviews with some of the representatives of different political parties that were there, some of the people who were queuing up to vote. And then the other event was a pro-Palestinian march in that was happening in Piccadilly Circus. So I went there to cover that. I did the same sort of thing, did some filming, talked to a couple of people, and I was just about to leave when suddenly I saw this known Iranian figure who was pointing his camera at me, and he was obviously live streaming. And I could hear him saying, like, "Oh, look who's here, Potkin Azarmehr," because I'm quite well known in the Iranian community. He's obviously getting paid by the Israelis. He's a Mossad agent, so I couldn't just walk away. So I went up to him and I said, "Well, look, you came here on claiming political asylum, and now you're supporting the regime and getting benefits here." He then grabbed my arm, and I just basically took his arm and just like pushed it away. Didn't even touch his chest. And suddenly, it looked like he was signaling to another policeman, and something like 10 police officers jumped on me. And they were trying to sort of like bring me down on the floor. And I was saying, "What are you doing? I'm not resisting arrest." And interestingly, the police officer that initiated my arrest was Iranian as well, turned out to be Iranian. And I was taken to Walworth police station. I was held there for 12 hours. I was interviewed by some detective, and I explained to him that this guy that claims that I assaulted him, I'd taken a picture of him in 2017, because at the time he was appearing on BBC Persian a lot as a commentator. And I took a picture of him on one of the Al-Quds Day marches, which is an annual parade that's held by Iran throughout cities in the West, including London, unfortunately. And he was waving a Hezbollah flag. And that went viral. It was reposted about 3,000 times. And, that stopped him from sort of becoming an employee of BBC Persian. I think he was trying to apply to work there. So he had this vendetta against me, although I'd never spoken to him before. And I was explaining all this to the detective, and I could see like he was just lost, and he didn't know what Hezbollah was. So this was a university graduate detective who didn't know what Hezbollah was. And I said to him, like, "How can you not know what Hezbollah is?" He said, "Well, I've heard of him, but I haven't really looked into it." I said, "But if you just watch the news, you will know what Hezbollah is. You should know that it's a proscribed terrorist group by the UK government." And he had no idea. Anyway, so he charged me with common assault. And when I left the station, I was, as I said, I was there for about 11 hours. I left the station about 1 o'clock in the morning. When I left the station, I noticed that people had videoed my arrest, and someone had actually videoed the entire event, which clearly shows that the other guy grabbed my arm first, and all I did was just release my arm and pushed his arm back. And the video evidence was so clear. Now, interestingly, the woman that I'm so grateful to who took that video, she actually went to the police and said she was a witness and she'd videoed it. And on my arrest transcript, they had her as their witness.
Kidding.
Even though and they never looked at the video. They never even talked to her. Even after my first hearing where I had to plead not guilty, they still hadn't contacted her. So it was a complete waste of resources. And then also, afterwards, what you see is the guy that claimed that I'd assaulted him. You see him, they called an ambulance for him, and he's sitting in the ambulance and they're taking his blood pressure and everything. If you ever want to see evidence of how the resources are wasted in England, we have the police always complaining that they're under-resourced and everything. If you try to call an ambulance, they end up telling you to get a cab and that, But just look at these two videos and you will see the complete waste of resources by the police and emergency services. Anyway,
well, what we're going to do, what we're going to do, because there's a couple of things here that I just want to sort of go back on. I mean, first of all, let me just say I've worked with senior police officers over many, many years, not as a police officer, something else. And I've got the highest respect for frontline police officers as well. They've got a tough job. They've got a difficult job to do. However, having said that, what is becoming very clear in the UK and in England in particular is that there appears to be a two-tier justice system emerging. And what's very worrying about this is that you have been, because you were, I guess, opposing the sort of that side of things, they automatically took the side of this, what I might term as an agent provocateur, certainly somebody that's probably working for the Iranian regime here in the UK, if he's acting as an agent. So it's very concerning to hear that. The other thing that just blows my mind is that this police officer that you were speaking to, who had never heard of Hezbollah. If he's never heard of Hezbollah, then he's probably never heard of Hamas, and he's probably never heard of all of these other things. What on earth are these young police officers being taught? I worry that they are being taught that people who are patriotic, who love their country, okay, you sound like a typical East End London guy to me. I've spent many long years in London, and I've got the highest respect for people who come to this country and who fit in and who stand up for everything. You're as British as they come, mate, despite the fact that you've got an Iranian connection there. But you're coming across to me as being very, very polite, very articulate, very moderate. Yet here we are, and we're going to see that video playing out.
I'm not getting paid anything. How much are you getting paid? You got asylum here. You take benefit here. There's one challenge.
What was the outcome? I mean, this was shocking. If it hadn't been for that lady, you might have had an assault charge there, or for common assault.
Yeah, it would have been their word against mine, because their body cams only show from behind me, so it's not clear what actually happened. If she hadn't taken that video, who knows what would have happened. But I think, thank God, I still have some confidence in the British justice system, because after all, I mean, my trial was supposed to be on Monday, 15th of July, and the Crown Prosecution Services, as soon as they saw the video, they dismissed the case. So I still have some confidence in the British justice system. And like you, I'm very supportive of the police and the frontline officers, and I always blame the management. But I think what's happened is that the recruitment standards have sunk so low for the sake of political correctness, that the sort of police officers that we see today, they're just not up to it. Not physically, not intellectually. They don't have the knowledge. I mean, if you just look at my arrest transcript, it's just full of mistakes. You think, like, who wrote this? A friend of mine, his son was mugged, and the police officer who came to interview was a Bulgarian woman, nice woman, but her English wasn't up to it, and she forgot to take his statement on that day. It took him 2 weeks to go and give the statement, and I see time and time again that unfortunately the as well as the two-tier policing, the orders that come to them from above, the political indoctrination in that, but also a lot of them, I'm not saying all of them, a lot of them are not physically fit, and they just don't have the knowledge about what is going on in the world.
You know what? It reminds me.
Yeah, go on.
I was just going to say, you would have seen the events surrounding the assassination attempt on Donald Trump, and there's one particular Secret Service agent who's been nicknamed Secret Service Barbie. I don't know. You maybe have seen the clips. I've certainly posted them on my channel.
Trying to pull the gun out.
Trying to put the gun away.
Yeah.
She looks completely. Yeah. Absolutely out of her depth. She's still got the shades on. She's still chewing the gum, trying to look cool.
Yeah.
And then there's another picture of her hiding behind the president and other Secret Service agents who are trying to protect him from incoming gunfire. You know, that's the kind of class, if that's the kind of woke BS that we're starting to see in the Secret Service in America. And of course, it relates back to policing and recruitment of police officers. I've spoken to many police officers who say, you know what, the standards are really bad. They're taking people on and recruiting them because of their gender or sexual orientation or color or whatever these other factors might be. The woke bullshit nonsense that's been going on, and they're not getting the right caliber of people in. And you contrast that with the next sort of couple of days where the Secret Service agents that are around Trump now, they're all very capable guys, you can tell. But, you know, British policing has fallen in standard. It definitely has.
Well, likewise, I mean, in my arrest case, I mean, you have that Iranian police officer who's been in this country for 15 years. And I told him that counter-terrorism police have told me that I'm a target of the Iranian regime. I have a unique reference number. I'm visited by the counter-terrorism police once a year. He wasn't interested. And I just find it very strange that he said he didn't know who I was and he didn't know who the other guy was. And all he had to do was go to the woman who came up to him and said, I've videoed it, watch the video, and all of this would have been over. But he never did. And there is another policewoman involved in my arrest who's trying to pull my head down for some reason. Now, before my arrest, I had a little bit of a dialogue with her because what happened was the Metropolitan Police had posted someone's picture saying, if you have any information on this guy, please contact us. And that guy just went past in the pro-Palestinian protests. And a friend of mine who was watching a live stream, he took a screenshot of it and sent it to me as well. And I went up to her. I said, look, this guy that the Metropolitan Police were after just went past this way. And she just wasn't interested. She wasn't taking the reference number. She wasn't taking any notes. She wasn't letting her supervisor know. All she said, well, what can I do? He's gone now. That's it. Like, you know. So I started filming her and she got annoyed about that. And I think she had a bit of vengeance with me as well over that because I was filming her and showing that, you know, she's just not interested in information that I'm giving her that the Metropolitan Police have been asking the public to give. And she was trying to pull my head down until another senior officer comes and sort of like says to her, like, just let him go sort of thing. I think, like, you know, if you watch the video, there's just so many points in there. Now, also, the Iranian police officer's surname is Emamzadeh. That means born of a cleric, born of an imam. Normally, religious families in Iran have that sort of surname. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean that because of his surname, he's pro-regime or pro-Ayatollahs and all that. But all I'm saying is that it needs to be investigated, right? I mean, it needs to be looked into. There's a few things here that ring a few alarm bells, and it needs to be looked into and investigated. And maybe nothing will come out of it. I hope nothing will come out of it. But we have to be careful about penetration into our institutions, and especially,
absolutely.
I mean, God forbid, if the police are penetrated by hostile states, then we've all had it. And,
well, I mean, it's a matter of national security, and even the previous Conservative government, I have very serious questions over because I often report on the fact that they've been globalized deeply.